all this sounds like it can be very stressful, painful even for family members as the disease progresses. What do you advise family members to do to cope with the stress of caregiving?
I think there are at least three very important things. The first is to try to be informed. Learn about the disease and its manifestations, whether that's through the Alzheimer's Association or on the internet. The book I've written, The 36-Hour Day, has information. So that's part of it, becoming informed. I think the second step is to think about what are the problems that your relative or loved one or good friend is facing right now. Be specific. Is it wandering? Is it getting lost? Is it trouble with the checkbook? Often when you're very specific, you can figure out, or you can ask your physician or a social worker or social service agency to help you figure out a solution to a particular problem. So that even though we can't cure the disease, we can fix many of the problems. I think that's the second thing. And then the third thing is that families need to think about their own emotional needs. That's not being selfish. That's helping the ill person and really helping the caregiver be able to sustain that role. And as you said, this can be emotionally and physically stressful and even burdensome to many people.
A good time to find a support group?
I think for many people, support groups are great, but not everyone needs one. I think people should look at their own natural support network. Some people can get that sort of support through good friends, through brothers and sisters. I think many people find talking with a minister very helpful. But support groups provide a kind of information that other people don't have, in the sense that either they've lived through it or they're living through it right now. And so they often have experience and advice that can help. And I think for many people, talking to someone who really knows what you're going through is an added boost emotionally.
Let me bring up another family issue, a little bit different, which is I think, I know sometimes children and other family members of individuals with Alzheimer's disease wonder if this means they're going to develop Alzheimer's disease. What do you say to them?
Yeah. Well, our knowledge is still evolving in this question. It does run in families. And so if you have a brother, sister, or parent with the disease, your odds probably are 2 or 3 times higher of getting Alzheimer's than someone who doesn't have any relatives with it. However, that still means that for any well individual, the chances are probably less than 50%, and sometimes much less than that they'll ever have a problem, no matter how long they live.
All right. Let me pose something else. Let's say members of a congregation recognize this as a important and growing problem. They would like to find a way for their congregation to address the needs of individuals with Alzheimer's disease and family members. What would you suggest to them? What contributions could they make?
I think there are at least 2 things, and there are probably many. I think the first is to be able to talk publicly about this, whether it's from the pulpit or in Sunday school or whatever, to realize that this is a disease, it's common, it brings forth a lot of challenges. I think that is tremendously liberating for many people. A lot of caregivers feel they're the only person facing this. They may be ashamed that the person is doing unusual things that they've never done their whole life. And being able to talk about it openly and find that other people are struggling, that can be very important. And then that feeds right into the information part. Some communities have even screening days where there are individuals who will provide screening tools, particularly for people at high risk, individuals over 70 or 75. So contacting the local Alzheimer's Association and seeing whether they might have some opportunities in that way. And again, I think many congregations have enough members who are actually having support groups can be wonderful, because it's already in a familiar setting, perhaps even people you know. And I think that makes it easier for the caregiver to accept that kind of help from other congregants. And it can be tremendously meaningful to get that sort of support from other people so you don't feel that you're alone.
Good. All right, well, let me just conclude by saying, or asking, if there are just 2 or 3 things people can take away from this. We've covered so much, but if people could walk away remembering at least 2 or 3 key pieces of information or suggestions, what would they be?
I think the first is that loss of memory and change of behavior in older people is not normal. It signals a serious problem and really should be brought to the attention of a physician. I think second is that we've learned a tremendous amount in the last 25 years. We know how to care for people. We have medicines that are modestly effective so that we can now make a difference in the quality of life of the ill person. And then I think third is that caregivers should know that by getting help for themselves, they're helping the family and the ill person. So a lot could be done both for the care provider and the ill person.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Rabins.
Welcome, Dan.
If you want to obtain more information on Alzheimer's disease, Dr. Rabins' book, The 36-Hour Day, is an excellent resource. There are also books that offer suggestions specifically about how religious congregations can help individuals and families affected by Alzheimer's disease and a number of other medical conditions. More information about all of these books and some additional resources is provided in the information sheet that accompanies this video. We want to encourage you to look over these materials. Equipped with the information and suggestions they provide, you will be able to make a valuable contribution to the health of many in your congregation and community.
If you would like additional information about the O'Neill Foundation for Community Health, you may contact Dr. Hale at Post Office Box 1529, DeLand, Florida 32721.